We live in a dynamic environment. I think things, not just in sports, but in life, they are changing all the time. From one second to another one, everything changes. And what it means from a monitoring perspective, I think it's very important to benchmark our players, our team, know what are the reference models, know what are the normal values for my team, but also to be able to compare different periods of the season. How am I regarding a month ago, 2 months ago, and also compare my team against the competition. How am I regarding the teams I have to play against? Okay, so that's one of the things why I think it's important to obtain information. The other thing is that information is the only thing that stays. Coaches, strength conditioning coaches, physios, they can come and go, but information is always gonna stay in team, with the team. So if you invest in information, you're gonna have a really good investment, an important investment for the future. Then, is it worth the change, especially at a professional level? One of the most important things is time. We don't have time, so we better use our time properly and efficiently. Okay, and finally, everything comes down to: are we getting better or not? If we are not getting better, maybe we need to have a look at what we are doing and start adding some modifications to improve what we are doing, to improve the results. So information, I think information is equal to intelligence. The moment I start measuring, I start generating information and accumulate intelligence. If I accumulate intelligence, I'm going to be able to develop models. If I develop models, I know where I want to be. I know probably what I have to do to get there, or at least I have a goal. I know where I want to be in the future. Okay, and if I have models, I probably will be able to predict. And I put predicts between, I don't know how you say that in English, between 2 marks, because I don't think we can predict. Okay, I don't think we can predict things. I don't know if it's going to rain tomorrow or no. But what I know is that I can detect what sort of perturbations I can come across and develop strategies in consequence to be ready faster. And I learned this from McLaren, Mercedes, Formula 1. I think they are the best ones at doing this. Motorbikes, Formula 1, they know what to do immediately. If Michael Schumacher stops after 12 laps, or if they stop, or if they don't start the pole, but they start in the 3rd row, they know what to do, they know what to change immediately. Okay, they are ready, they have strategies and they know what to do. It's difficult probably from a team perspective to have this approach, but at least we should try from a monitoring perspective. I try to develop that approach, which obviously is not like, I don't have sensors in every piece of the car, but I try to develop that approach. Fatigue. So monitoring for me comes down to managing the way the fatigue is affecting the athletes and coaching. Fatigue affects the efficiency of the neuromuscular system, which increases the likelihood of having an injury. 3 examples, and I use these 3 examples because they are very related to what we are going to talk later on. There's obviously more examples we could use, strength, for example, but I'd like to use these 3 examples because they are really related to what we are going to talk later on. Contraction time, stiffness, and functional synchronization. So contraction times, fatigue correlates with slower contraction times. If you look at the injuries, they usually happen towards the end of the game when the athlete is starting to be tired, or toward the end of the season when the athletes are chronically fatigued. So there's some research proving how fatigue can affect the contraction times and the speed of the contraction. From electromechanical delay perspective, this, and I put a picture there, electromechanical delay, the time or the delay between the contraction activity signal and the moment where we can see or the muscle start getting tense. There's some tension in the muscle. Okay, speed of contraction with fatigue, speed of contraction is slower. Okay, and if these two factors are not optimized, other things like rate force development, explosiveness, power are also going to be affected, because contraction times and speed of contraction is one of the things that we need to develop power. Okay, decreased proprioception as well. If I'm not able to activate my proprioceptors fast enough, I probably I'm at a higher risk of injury or a more compromised situation. Okay, from a muscle compliance perspective, biarticular muscles are especially affected by muscle compliance. They have to deal with tension coming from proximal and distal. Usually these biarticular muscles are more facile, so are more type 2 muscles. So we know that if you are a more explosive athlete, you are under more risk of injury, just because you are probably going to have to deal with the fatigue, and you are probably going to get tired faster than the rest. Decreased joint stability, and therefore increased likelihood of injury. This is the last example. Speed is the result of muscle, intramuscular coordination, and neural components, intermuscular coordination, functional synchronization. So if I am not well coordinated, if my intermuscular coordination is poor, I'm probably going to spend more energy. So I'm probably going to get tired faster to do when I am trying to do the same movement. Okay, I'm going to be slower. Again, my power and speed are going to be compromised, and the overall mechanical efficiency is going to be lower. So that is going to affect the overall performance. So again, the main part of this presentation is to introduce you guys to BSMPG, but I don't understand monitoring as a one tool that is going to help me to decrease injuries. I think it's a complex process, and we need to add information from different areas of performance: mental, biomechanical, biochemistry, and be able to integrate all that within our monitoring process and start making decisions based on different indicators. So first, two indicators that I think provide useful information. First one is heart rate variability, which is that picture there. Okay, it's an interesting tool to know how the athlete is coping with training or with fatigue. Okay, how the athlete is recovering. It provides information about the balance or parasympathetic, sympathetic activation and balance. Okay. I don't know, because I don't have experience in the States, but in the UK, for example, I like to use heart rate variability from a weekly perspective, microcycle, get the average, and get the overall result of that heart rate variability and average of the. It's a good indicator of training load of the microcycle. Okay. Here in the States, that you have to play a lot of games in a week, probably daily monitoring is also an interesting way to analyze heart rate variability. Sleep, and I think sleep is, I don't know, 10 years ago it was impossible to, you had to take the athlete to the lab, the athlete has to sleep there, and you can monitor the sleep, which is unreal to be able to do that in a team environment. But now there's more and more tools coming out. This one, is a mobile application. Okay, it provides, it's probably not as accurate as the traditional technology that people or you can use at the lab, but it's quite reliable. There's a research that shows that compared to those technologies, it's about 75% equals. It's quite reliable. Okay, and you can get different information. We all know how sleep is related to performance from different perspectives. For example, assimilate new information, memorize new information. But also we know that during deep sleep is the moment where the athlete is generating growth hormone, for example. So it's an interesting way. I like to use sleep to develop routines and educate my athlete on how to improve the way they are dealing with the way they sleep. Biomarkers.